Well, most of these engines I've actually did some research on. Stephenson's rocket, locomotion, and not to mention, because the A0 was the prototype to the A3 Pacific for the LNDR, my father's first Pacific design. It would give birth to later the A4 Pacifics and the rebuild A1s into the A3s that you know, especially currently to the Flying Scotsman, which is what Golden's class was like. Very intelligent of you, Mr. Grasney. That is quite remarkable of you. I could probably tell you just like your father in a sense. Shame he's not around to actually see you actually working on rebuilding one of his own prize Pacifics that he actually sold to Sir Topham Hatt. I have been friends with his family for years. My father was the one that was able to get Gordon on the main line of his railway to run the express as a primary express engine, since he was brand new at the time. And not to mention, it is my duty to keep the railway going on track and be on time, even meaning I would have to do everything in my power, as long as it's up and mad, to be sure that all the engines of the railway do their job. That is true. All steam engines have a specific type of job that they were actually built for. Some are small, some are large, some fast, some slow, some for goods, some for passengers, some for mixed traffic, and even some for working in the yards. These engines are their own useful engines in their own respective right. You pretty much actually could see potential just about any design that actually happens to come out of these locomotives that have actually been built over the last 100 or so years for the railways of Britain. Oh, yes, definitely. The engines have actually been one of their most respectable engines. And I will recommend that I've actually been able to preserve these steam locomotives to other heritage railways and the National Collection for preservation and posterity's sake for them. A bit of a learning experience when it came to actually running a national railway network, and stepping stone for me to get some experience understanding them. Yes, indeed. I'm very impressed that you could actually get one of your father's Pacifics back into service again. That is definitely true. You'll completely understand. Good. We can start working on Gilden's overhaul and rebuild, and he'll be on his way. While Jack and Ted were working on the modification, Gordon was starting to think back on everything that he had actually seen in his career.
Remember, Thomas, united we stand, together we fall. You help me, and I'll help you. I'll remember.
Gordon had a lot to think about as the day began to shift over the beginning of the next morning, and fell asleep and called it a night. Evening was back at her sheds at Knapford Lake and resting after she had done some work in the yards and holding some goods trains. As she was in the sheds, getting ready to call it a night, she could hear some puffing coming in from around the corner. This is gonna be late for a late night goods. head out by the lake, as usual. Come on, old boy. We go pick up some other wagons. They're gonna be due out to the other railway.
Oh, hi there.
Oh, hello. I didn't expect you to be in the sheds here.
I am really enjoying the engine shed here. It's definitely a nice change for me. Better than the engine sheds I've been on in the mainland.
Well, I was here for a while. I happen to have been like this. I don't think we've actually met each other before, since this is your first time here, I think. How long have you been here?
A few months, give or take, ranging from shunting to taking the mail, local passenger trains, and some of the other duties and new locations I've been able to go on this railway. It's such a beautiful place to actually be here. And it's no wonder that steam engines have been able to call this place home.
Most definitely. All of Setopomat's engines have actually been well regarded and famous. Even some of us that have been in other countries, France, Germany, Russia, all of them have actually been from one place or another that still ran steam at some point.
Even I actually know about that. And it was quite impressive that they were able to hold on to steam for quite some time. But eventually the modernization all comes for us in the end. Even I have actually seen it happen a few times on the mainland. It's not a really good sight, but it's progress in the way of modernizing the railway.
Most definitely indeed. I can tell that you're British. British design, your accent, and not to mention, you happen to have served in a war. Possibly the second, same as I was in, I presume.
I did serve in the second, but I was also a First World War veteran. It is quite remarkable to actually see an engine like you. You're probably from Germany. Second World War?
I see. Well, I was the private engine of the most evil man in history that actually was responsible for conquering Europe with his political group. Not to mention, he saw the terrors of it. Not really the best for a steam engine like me, even suffering my own physical injuries at the hands of the leader of the Soviet Union when captured. He scarred me and knocked me in the shed, locked up, and terrorized me for days. I escaped to Britain and then got to Sodo, and now I'm actually here. And here you are. Quite a remarkable engine you are.
I humbly apologize for the marks that Stalin gave you. It's just wrong for an engine to be treated that way.
He was a cruel man, Stalin. Left me in the shed, scarred me, and he's ruined me. I got a really bad sense of it.
I really feel bad for you because no engine deserves this treatment, even if it comes from one of the most dangerous men in the world, as well as one of the most evil organizations that happened to be during the war, of all things. Where were you built exactly? Germany?
Yes, built in 1937.
So, you were built in Nazi-occupied Germany at the time. Can't blame you, because I'm not much of a fan of them.
I understand if you don't trust me, but your king wasn't exactly strictly neither to his allegiance with them. I actually have the purpose to tell you that even if he was king under a puppet state here during the war, I actually fear he'd actually be pushed into our own service, forced to work here, and do more unspeakable things that I witnessed. I saw even more horrors. Even you should actually probably have witnessed more in your life. I do apologize. You don't expect to trust me with this. Don't worry, we're good. Used to really hope that you'll have a very nice evening. I got the next train to take.
Of course, we have a railway to keep going no matter what. I hope we meet again. By the way, who are you?
My name is Fortunate, and I'm sure we'll be glad to meet each other again, you big star, since I know who you are from the other engines you told me, you.
I'm sure we will.
After collecting some more trucks for his train,
Fortunate then left out of the yards
with much whooshing and huffing,
and disappeared on the horizon into the darkness ahead of him. I just feel so sorry for Fortunate. I just don't know what to do. How to talk with him about it.
as the news went on, Evening was still wondering what she would actually be doing with her friend that she just met now.